Welcome to the Meet the Team podcast. I'm Brady Jolly, and I'm with my friend Tyler Brewer. So, just going to get to know you a little bit today, man. Thanks for being here.
Absolutely, man.
So,
It's a pleasure.
why don't we start by just tell us a little bit about yourself, personal life, what you like to do for fun, family, that sort of stuff.
I'm a pretty simple, man. I like to plumb. Plumbing's what I like to do. Told you that a lot. But I got three beautiful boys, so I like to spend a lot of time with them, watch sports. I got the 9-year-old. He's finally into some competitive sports, so it brings out my competitiveness. Because obviously I can't do it no more. Spend time with the family. Watch sports. I'm pretty simple. I don't do a whole bunch.
Cowboys, Wildcats, what else?
Reds.
That's right. So you get one Cincinnati local.
Yeah. One Cincinnati local team.
You got the Cats. What about born and raised down in what?
Yeah, in Louisville. Yeah, so outside of Louisville, originally I'm from Shelby County. Then moved down to Spencer County, and then I came up here because I met my wife. So,
Who's the most famous people to come from Shelby County? It's who am I thinking of?
Shelby County.
The rappers.
No, that's
Bone
Nappy
Thugs and
Roots.
Harmony?
No, that's
Nappy
Nappy Roots. Yeah, Nappy Roots is who that is.
Of all things.
Yeah, that's a heck of a claim to fame. We
doubt.
got a small town down there, but yeah.
How'd you get into plumbing?
I was going to school. I thought I'd try the college route. You know what I mean? My mom was pushing it real hard. Said time to go to college. Gave it a shot. Quickly found out it wasn't for me. My dad's an electrician, so tradesman's been around my family for ever since I can remember. Started putting applications in. I applied for HVAC, electrician, plumbing. They were the first ones to call me back. And here I am about 10, 12 years later. I forget how long it's been, but they were the first ones.
And that was in Louisville?
Yeah, right outside. Yeah, at Louisville.
And then was that originally commercial or residential or both? Or
So I started for a company named it was Tom Drexler. So pretty much that I started out literally doing bathroom remodels, not a whole bunch of plumbing. They were the first company. They needed someone to Actually, I started out. Let me rephrase that. I started out being a parts runner for this company.
Yep.
So they were letting me in. They were like, "Hey, run these parts to these people." Quickly got in there. I was like, "Hey, this ain't it. It's not for me. I need to do something else." So then I got into the bathroom remodeling part of it. I was gluing together some traps, putting some shower valves in. I was like, "This is cool," but it was residential. So I quickly got out of that too. I went to another company. I said, "I need to get hands on with this stuff. I'm enjoying this stuff. I'm pretty good at it. I need to get after it." So that's kind of what I did. So
Sweet.
residentially is what it was. Yes.
And then when you moved up here, you hit me up.
Yeah.
Because, I knew your wife from school and everything. You hit me up and said, "Hey, man, I hear Jolly's a place to work in Northern Kentucky."
It is.
So
yeah.
tell me about that. How'd that all go down? What's your experience been like since then?
Well, what happened was my wife's originally from Campbell County. She had, when I met her, she was in school to become an accountant. She was in school. I was working doing my thing down in Louisville. I had my license already. She finished school. She was like, "Hey, I can't find a job down there." I was like, "Hey, well, go maybe try where you're from. See if anybody replies back. Your first accounting job out of school." She did. She got a job. And quickly on, I was like, "Man, we're gonna have to move." And so it was she was like, "Well, yeah, you can stay down here, and we'll figure it out." And I'm like, "Absolutely not. I got to get back there. We're married. We're gonna do this together." So. Yeah, I think my sister-in-law actually, I think is who it was. My sister-in-law like, "Hey, we know the Jollies," and I'm like, "Yeah, do what you got to do. No big
Yep.
deal. You know what I mean?" So she reached out, and here we are, and it's been a roller coaster ride. Great company. From day one I started here to now, we sure didn't have podcasts. So, it's a lot different of kind of a company outlook, but it's for the better.
What are some of the main differences, from how long ago was that, the first?
I think it was maybe 2018, right? 2018, 2019.
Going on 7 years ago.
Yeah.
What was it like back then from what you remember, and then how have things changed to now?
Well, obviously, a lot more. So the biggest thing is back when I first started here, it was kind of what I was into, right? And when I say that, it was all about plumbing.
Mm-hmm.
It was straight to the trades. How can we get this done? It was old school kind of way to outlook and look at things. The biggest things now is just the operation you've built here. Simply from we didn't have for, dispatchers or a call center or all the office personnel we have now to kind of make our jobs easier.
Yep.
We had, when I first started here, there was a table downstairs with 4 people that sat around it, and they were answer calls, dispatch, they do it all. Now you've broken it up to, it's just crazy to see the growth of the company. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's quite a bit different.
I want to go back to, you talked about going to college. I actually forgot that you had a short stint in college. Mm-hmm. That's a story we hear over and over from a lot of people. Absolutely. Like, hey, go to college, didn't really know what I was going to do, so I went into the trades. And, now look at you. You're a relatively young dude with a family, just absolutely crushing it, doing a great job, high performer here. What would you reflect on that and tell me, like, what you would tell somebody else that maybe is in that situation, younger person, like the younger you? Yeah. And then, like, what has it meant to you actually going into the trades versus maybe the other path that you were on?
Correct. Yeah, so if I could go back to it, obviously, parents. Parents are always the key driving the success to the kids. I'm not going to ever say don't listen to your parents because obviously always taking it in account what they're saying. But just know that there's not always one option. The trades changed my life tremendously. I could have finished out through school, and I say this, this is a great story. Me and my wife talk about it all the time. She's $110,000 in debt, and, she makes great money. But I'm in no debt, and I make better money. Mm-hmm. So that stuff is game changer for me. You know what I mean? So take advice, but there's always another option. You know what I'm saying? There's always something else out there that could benefit you. Trades, to be honest, right now to me, I would pick over college every day.
And you didn't do any trade school or anything, right?
Absolutely not, no.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a common misconception. Not that there's anything wrong with going to trade school. That's fine too. But people think it's either college or trade school.
Correct.
And I kind of challenge that. It's like, well, just go work for somebody that's in the trades and you're going to learn a lot quicker. Would you agree?
Hands-on for sure. Classroom setting's not for me. It's sometimes it is for people, but the biggest thing about what you'll find if you go to a trade school, and I see these people, not discredit them, but they pop out and they've never had the hands-on or the world experience of plumbing, and it's a lot different. I mean, you can put together toilets and all types of stuff from trade school, and then you get in someone's house and you got to deal with the customer. You got to deal with all different things in the world that the trade school can't teach you. So that is a misconception. Not saying trade school's a great thing. You know what I mean? If you want to do that route, but I didn't do it, and you know what I mean? It just depends on what kind of drive you have. You know what I mean? That's my biggest thing. I'm a go-getter. I like to say that. If you dangle a dollar in front of me, I'm gonna try to get 2 out of it. You know what I mean? That's just who I am, and I've always been driven. So. Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah, man. So you're a high performer here. When we talk about high performers, obviously a big part of that's like being a good plumber. You got to be a good plumber and be able to have high quality work, got to get great customer reviews, and then there's a revenue and profitability part of it. Right. You check all 3 boxes. When you came here, I remember you were like, for a young dude, you were a great plumber. It's like, this is jackpot. Like, we got this guy who's a stud who just moved in from Louisville. Like, people don't walk in your door all the time that are already trained up, good plumber. What I've seen you improve on over the years is customer service skills, communication, even internal communication, communicating with your fellow employees, becoming like a leader here. Yeah. Aside from plumbing, because, you can train plumbing, you can teach plumbing. Aside from that, talk about like being a residential plumber and the other aspects of that.
So yeah, I mean, plumbing's, it's funny, and you've had this conversation with me, is back prior, you know what I mean? I'd push plumbing before everything else. If you weren't a good plumber, you couldn't do this stuff, right? And that's changed in my mindset. In growth with me, being in this type of service industry, because obviously I came from, I've done service, I've roughed houses, I've done it all. You know what I mean? So, but the thing that you don't really know coming into the plumbing world is the customer service part of it. You're dealing with people, they're literally freaking out about something that's happened in their house, and you got to go in there and calm them down. You know what I mean? You got to calm them down. I mean, it's easy to go in and be like, yeah, it's going to be $250, we'll fix it today. And they're going to be like, whoa, why? But you have to literally sit down, talk to them, just treat them like they're your family, you know what I mean, and help them however you can, and kind of talk them off that cliff, you know what I mean?
And deeply care about them, man. I mean, yesterday's perfect example. You hit me up. There's somebody that was struggling, that really needed hot water, didn't have it, bad situation, and you're there to help them out, right? Like, and it's more than just the revenue associated with the job. It's actually every single customer, sometimes 3 or 4 customers a day, get into their level, having empathy, and trying to do whatever it can to help them. And that's the part of you that I've seen like improve tremendously over the years, and I think that's what you've really worked on. It's been cool to see. Yeah. All right, let's shift gears. You know, our mission, vision, values are very important to us. You know, we don't have anybody who works here who we don't think align with our values. Mm-hmm. Is there any value that sticks out to you?
I like to do the right thing without compromise. And it goes back to yesterday. You know what I mean? You know, I wasn't going to compromise with the situation. We tried every aspect. They were working with me. You know what I mean? I'm not going to get into it. But that one to me is key because, you know, you can do a lot of things by cheating the system, right? That's what compromising something is. It's literally doing something that you shouldn't do to make something work. Mm-hmm. You know, that's the biggest thing to me. I want to do everything. A lot of times people, you know what I mean, will say that, you know, you're doing this just to help yourself out, and that's false. That's totally false. That's not true. We're doing this for not only we are trying to help our, you know, everyone out, but we want to do it for you more than us. You know, I don't come to work because I like to plumb. I do love to plumb. Let me rephrase that, but I don't do it. It's not my hobby. You know, I'm coming out there to help you every day. I want to help you. I want to help you as a consumer. So doing it without the right thing, without compromise, is the key component to me.
I still think you're the only guy to ever work here that's got a tattoo about plumbing.
It's the best, man. It's my go-to anywhere I go. You know what I mean? Like, they're like, hey, man, you got that plum life on your stomach? I'm like, yeah, man, that's me. You know what I mean? And it started out as a joke, you know what I mean? And, you know, now that we're on air, man, you really owe me for that. But, you know what I mean? We made that bet, you know. But
we're still working on it. We're going to get you – we got to get a design for the Jolly Plumbing tattoo.
I'll do it, man. I'm not scared of much, you know what I mean?
All right.
Yeah, so
we'll set it up.
Yeah, so it started out as a joke, you know what I mean? That you know, we was talking to someone as they're like, "Hey, man, you should get Thug Life on your stomach." I'm like, "No, I'm not about that, man. Like, I'm just a country boy, you know. I don't need Thug Life on me." And I was like, "Hey, man, why don't we do Tupac style with like Plum Life?" And they're like, "Oh, okay." So I go to my tattoo artist, man, and he draws it up. I'm like, "This is cool." You know, my wife's like, "Don't do it."
Caitlin thing.
Oh, she's like, "Don't do it. I swear, if you do it, you know, I'm gonna be so mad at you." I'm like, "Oh, you're talking my language. You know what I mean? You're gonna be mad at me? I've been in the doghouse my whole life. Let's do this thing, you know." So I get it. You know what I mean? And it's been a fan favorite. You know,
it is your claim to fame, man.
Yeah.
It's your claim to fame.
I mean, I should probably go TikTok viral with it, but you know, I'm not like that yet. So, but yeah, no doubt.
All right. So you get a call, dispatch calls. Call comes up on your iPad. Mm-hmm. What are some like your favorite calls to see? What are some of your favorite things to go to?
That's a good question. To be honest with you, I don't have favorites. I mean, obviously everybody does. I mean, you know, I like to see things different. You know what I mean? Sometimes people think like the cool calls are the water heaters or you know, sump pumps. You know, I put in quite a few water heaters. You know, they're fun. I like them. They produce a challenge, especially if you go into a tankless. I like to swap, you know, a standard vent heater into a tankless. It's fun. A lot of like real like, and so like real plumbing, right? So what people say, like, you know, you want to do real plumbing. Real plumbing considered people's when you're roughing houses, right? You're running pipe, you're running water lines, you're doing this. This is, some people call this not real plumbing. I don't agree. That's false as I'll get out. I'll make it look as just as good as your real plumbing. So that's my thing. So, but that part of it, back to that, is you get to run more of that stuff, right? You get to, you know, make straight water lines, you know, and you do this kind of piece of artwork. And I call it art. You know what I mean? That's what I enjoy about the plumbing side of it. It's artwork to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
And you take pride in making it look good.
Absolutely,
I mean, I've seen a lot of your jobs. It looks awesome.
And it's because, I mean, in the code book, you know, it says, you know, the art of plumbing. And a lot of times that'll fail on the end, you know. The artwork part of it's my favorite part. Yep. So, but tankless, I enjoy a tankless for a swap like that because you can like totally like the customer's eyes. They're like, whoa, like you took this big, you know, dinosaur looking heater out and you put this like new age tankless in it and look how much room I have and it's copper shiny. You know what I mean? It's fun to do. So.
Yep. Talk about tankless. When you're telling customers, that's a question we get a lot, right? Mm-hmm. Like, hey, why should I go to tankless or should I keep this tank heater? What's your reason like to tell people to go to tankless?
Well, so first thing I always ask, you know, obviously For myself, so like if someone came to me, right, and I was the consumer, and I had a 50-gallon standard vent or a 50-gallon power vent heater, and I got me and my wife, and I got 3 kids. How long do you think that's going to last for you? You know what I mean? You're going to run out of hot water. A lot of people will say the pros and cons of a tankless. I mean, that's the biggest pro. It's when you turn it on, you're going to have hot water until you turn it back off. Obviously, it's flow driven. You know what I mean? So it's a flow rate type of thing. So if you over exceed what it can take up, the flow diminishes, but the hot water doesn't stop. So the biggest thing for me is I always ask, how many people are living in the home. That's a key component because if it's just you and your husband, or vice versa, you might not need that. Mm-hmm. But then, sometimes you have a soaker tub that they can't fill all the way up because they only have 50 gallons of hot water. There's a lot of key components you can ask to kind of, push the tankless. The biggest thing for the tankless is the unlimited hot water. So, I mean, you know what I mean? And even now, because a lot of people, their misconception is, well, I turn this thing on and it doesn't get hot. Well, it's not instant hot water. Yeah. It's unlimited. But you can make it instant nowadays with the recirc, you know what I mean? So they've really upped these things. And they last longer. So, sure. Yeah, they're a good, product.
Yep, I know you put a lot of them in, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, same thing. So when you get dispatch job comes up, what's like one you're like, man, it's like my least favorite thing to do in plumbing?
To be honest, I just told a coworker the other day, I'm not a big fan of stack repairs. And the reason being of that is it's not that I can't do it or I can't resolve the issue. It's that it's literally like you got to tear people's houses apart. I just did one the other day. I tore this gentleman's whole kitchen apart. You know what I mean? We're in the middle of his kitchen, ceiling dropped out. Nasty water dropping. It's just not a fun thing to do. A water heater's nice and clean. Yeah. This is not, and I like, dirty's my middle name. Not really, but you know what I mean? I'm just saying I'm not opposed to getting in there and getting dirty. You know what I mean? I'm just saying that's not what that's not me. I'm the first, but like it's just a long drawn out, and it's just not a fun job. Yeah. It's just not. It's the one I would just, if someone else wants to take it for the team, hey man, you can have it. You know what I mean?
I'm with you.
Yeah.
All right. So I think what a misconception a lot of times about plumbing in the trades, like, you think about HVAC, somebody installs a new HVAC system, that's been sold by somebody else.
Right.
We get a salesman out there, they sell the system, installer comes behind them. Sewer, salesperson sells it, installers come behind them. Plumbing's a very unique thing in the trades because you guys sell and install your work. It's kind of back to that customer interaction training. So you obviously sell and install a ton of work, as much as anybody probably I've ever known. You're one of the highest performers we've ever had here, right? But what's your favorite part? Is it the talking to the customer, getting the job sold, or is it actually going and installing the work?
The old me would probably been like the very first, like back to when I first started here. We didn't have the same kind of structure we have now, but the old me was like, listen, sell it for me, I'll just plumb it. I'm good at plumbing, you know what I mean? That's what I took pride in, and you can contest to that. So plumbing but now it's fun interacting with the customers, you know what I mean? Because you literally change the outlook of what they think about their plumbing system, you know what I mean? And then you talk to people, you know what I mean? A lot of times you can be real, they think as plumbers as like just these, people that just go out there and they just roll around in mud and they're dirty and, you're just doing the work and, that's far from what it is, you know what I mean? You literally, like I said, you got to talk people off the ledge. And it's good to talk to people and let them know that it's going to be all right, and I'm going to be the one to, I'm going to help you as best I can. You know what I mean? And really dive into what's causing this, and it's good to see the reaction they get after you fix the issue. You know what I mean? Because you spent 30, 45 minutes with them before, and then they agree to the work, and then you do the work, and then it all wraps back up. You know what I mean? So I like the customer interaction part of it. Sometimes it's better than others, what I mean? Because, you're dealing with people, but I like the customer interaction. But old school me was the plumbing, for sure.
You came a long way from that, for sure, man. Yeah. I remember, I think you've told me that, man, can I just install stuff other people sell?
Yeah.
Back in the day. So it's cool to see how far you've come, man. It's really cool.
Yeah.
All right, crawl space, attic, when you're in a tight spot, what's like the last critter you want to see in there?
Wow, that snake. Snake.
You're out on the snakes.
I mean, yeah, if a snake comes at me, I mean, I'm not going to, like, run or nothing. I'm not going to scream. I'm not that guy. But, I'm gonna like, mosey my way out. You know what I mean? I'm going to get on out of there, and we're not going to mess around with the snake.
All right.
Snakes, they're just weird. You know, they don't have legs. They just doing this weird stuff. You know what I mean? Everything else has legs, man. You know what I mean? Like, looks kind of normal. Snake just kind of, like who made this?
Right.
You know, who's made it? It looks fake.
Right.
And here they are. They could bite me. You know what I mean? They're venomous. I don't know what they're about. They don't talk or nothing. You know. So
yeah.
You know, no animal does. But I feel like I could talk to a raccoon before a snake.
Right.
You know? So I'm not really scared of that. But you know.
All right.
Yeah.
You ever? All right. So what about like at your time at Jolly or elsewhere in the trades? Anything like craziest thing that's ever happened to you? Anything weird, crazy?
Man, I kind of knew this question was coming, and I really, I mean, not really. Craziest thing, I'd have to think on it for a minute. I mean, I've had some stuff happen, right? You know what I mean? I mean, literally, like, when I first started plumbing, I'll tell a story, and I'll never forget it. That was with the old school plumber, and he was rough around the edges, all get out, right? I mean, he literally was, he was like, he'd like yell at you from 3 floors up, you know what I mean? I was like running around and I was getting yelled at and stuff. I'm like, man, do I really want to do this? And the story that I'll stick, it's like when I first started plumbing, we were doing the stack repair, right? We had it wide open and he was like underneath of it and we like put signs up, don't use the bathroom, right? Like, don't use the bathroom and, you know, and I'm like, all right, cool. Like, I know this. Like, but then there was this crew of painters that came in, they were upstairs. And he was underneath this thing, man, and we heard "Kukoosh," and I was like, "Oh, this ain't good." I mean, it just comes flying down, and it wasn't number one. You know what I mean? It was the nastiest. I mean, he went berserk. I mean, and he literally like started like yelling at the homeowner, left the job, water all over the place. I'm like, "Oh my goodness! Like, is this what plumbing's about?" You know what I mean? Like, and I felt his pain. You know what I mean? Being in the trades now, like, you know, like clearly.
You don't want that.
You don't want that, but you need to learn to read. It said do not use. But you know, and so he was pretty. It was not good. It was nasty.
Well, it could have been you. It could have been worse.
Well, good thing I was an apprentice. I was probably out in the truck, so that's probably why.
Yeah.
But yeah, I heard him yelling from it. I think so. Yeah, it was not good.
Well, hey man, you are. I mean, you know how we feel about you, dude.
Yeah.
You crush it. You're an animal. You're what Jolly's all about. You know, I asked you the value thing. I think of you as a lot of the values, but winter's work. I mean, you come here and you grind.
Yeah.
You know, you get after it. We talk about winter's work. That doesn't mean you're not seeing your family at night. It means when you're here, you're grinding, you're getting after it, you're doing what's best for yourself and the company and the customer, and you're getting after it, right? And you do that. So thanks, man. Thanks for everything.
Absolutely.
Thanks for being on. Looking forward to working with you a long time, man. It's been fun.
Yeah. Thank you.